Every employee in the UK who's worked for more than 6 months has the right to request flexible working hours under a new law that comes into force today. Steph's got a little more detail on it.
Yes, good morning to you both. I'm going to explain a bit about what flexible means in this sense, first of all. Good morning, everyone. Yes, flexible basically means a way of working that suits an employee's needs. So perhaps having a flexible start and finish time or working from home. Now, until now, only parents and carers have been eligible for this, but it's been extended to include 20 million workers. Now, employers can turn down the request, but they must have a good business reason. So we visited one firm that's embraced the concept since it was set up in 1997.
My name is Syd Nadim. I'm chairman and founder of Clock, which is a digital agency based in Kings Langley in Hertfordshire. We design and build websites and mobile apps for agencies in the media, entertainment and leisure sector. We've been doing flexible working since day one as our inception as a Prince's Trust startup. We enable people to basically have a core hour of 11 till 2, but they can then flex their hours either side of that. It's all about getting the project done and all about getting the job done rather than just being physically in the office. The benefits to the agency are that we get really empowered people, we are able to attract really great staff, and then people take responsibility and ownership for it. If you give people trust and responsibility, generally they're trustworthy and responsible.
Well, with me now is Laura Darcy, who is an employment solicitor from Slater & Gordon. Good morning to you, Laura. Just tell us a bit about what these changes are.
The changes today are that basically any employee who has 26 weeks service with their employer can make a request for flexible working for any reason.
But employers can turn this down, can't they?
Employers can turn down the request, but they have a legal duty to consider it, and they have to consider it in a reasonable manner.
So what can happen then in real life if somebody goes to their employer and says, I really want flexible working, this is my reason, and they say, well, hang on, it can't work in our business, and they reject it? Would then that employee be able to take it to an appeal? How would it work?
Yeah, there used to be a prescriptive process, and that process has now disappeared, but employers have to deal with them in a reasonable manner, so yes, they would make the application, it would be considered at a meeting typically, and if the request was turned down, then they should be offered the right of appeal to somebody else within the organisation to further consider that.
It sounds like it's going to be quite messy to kind of police and to run this, because for businesses they lose the kind of security element that they have of knowing when their staff are coming in if it changes to a flexible working pattern. Likewise, it could be a problem for employees signing up to this if they change their mind in the future. Just explain that for us.
Yeah, I mean, an employer will obviously have to look at whether or not it can cope with the amount of applications that they might receive, but the reality is most good employers probably entertain applications from employees now anyway for whatever reason, because they can't be found to unlawfully discriminate against employees, so there's always that in the background. An employee of course has to make a considered application to make sure that it meets their needs now and perhaps in the longer term, because any change is likely to be permanent, so it is likely to result in a reduction in salary if it's an application to work part-time.
So if you apply to get flexible working, you then need to reapply if you want to go back to the more, I don't know what we'd call it, more normal working hours?
Yes, it's a permanent change to terms and conditions usually, and therefore there's no automatic right to revert back. So if after a few months it isn't working for you, you've got to wait at least 12 months before you can make another application, and even then at that point there's no guarantee an employer will be able to accommodate your request to revert back to your original terms and conditions.
Interesting. Okay, well, thanks for explaining that to us, Laura. And if you are someone who's considering this, do get in touch with us and let us know what you think about it. And as well, if you're a business and wondering what the changes might mean, do get in touch with us. That's it for me for now.
Thanks very much, Steph.